Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at another awesome release coming from Limited Run Games, and that is the release of two different Double Dragon games. So yesterday, Limited Run Games basically announced that next Friday would be what's called Double Dragon Friday, meaning that they were releasing two physical editions of two Double Dragon games that we had never previously had on the Switch. Now, I know that some other consoles were already graced with limited run releases for these games, but for the Switch, these are brand new releases of physical editions of these games. And that will be Double Dragon 4 and Double Dragon Neon. Now, I know that both these games are slightly controversial. If you look up reviews of them, some people hated these games, some found them mediocre, other people actually love these games. Now, personally, for myself, I love these games. I love them though for what they are. What that means is that they aren't revolutionary games, but they are really unique, each one in their different genre. And we'll go over a little bit about the games as we look at the different packs, but I don't want to spend too much time focusing on what the games are. This is more a video so that you're aware that these collections are releasing, and that probably if you're already a fan of these two releases, I can make sure that you can pick up your physical editions when they go live, the pre-orders basically next Friday, the 28th of May. And just in case you're worrying, I am not sponsored by Limited Run Games in any way. I'm just a huge fan of some of the retro physical editions that they're putting out lately. If you saw my past video a couple of weeks ago on the Castlevania collection, this one has me nowhere near as excited as that one, but nonetheless, I do think that this one was big enough that it was worth mentioning. Now, for any of you that are wondering, I did end up ordering the Ultimate Edition of the Castlevania game. Unfortunately, we most likely won't be getting it before the end of the year, but you know what? The wait is definitely worth it. So enough with the chit chat, let's get looking at the collections. And don't forget that if you do like this content, to please hit the like button. It's the best way to support the channel, and also subscribe if you aren't already. Now, to be honest, this time around, we will not look at the two base editions. Basically, they are $30 a piece, one for Double Dragon 4, the other one for Double Dragon Neon. They come with your standard Switch case, a physical cartridge containing the full game, and obviously a beautifully illustrated instruction manual. What is original about Limited Run Games is they still include instruction manuals in all their releases, even the basic editions. So even if you only have $30 to splurge, you know what? These are still great things to have for your collection, and I most likely for one of these two releases will only be picking up the base version. But where I want to focus more of our attention here is on the bigger releases for those who might be interested. So first, let's take a look at Double Dragon 4, the Classic Edition, which is selling for $69.99, obviously plus shipping to wherever you live in the world. So here we have it. This is what's going to be included with the Classic Edition of Double Dragon 4 for your Nintendo Switch. Now, honestly, this is a really nice pack. It's not as packed as the one that for Double Dragon Neon, but nonetheless, there are some really awesome inclusions here. Now, first of all, in this pack, you're getting a reproduction of the old school cardboard NES boxes for your Double Dragon 4 to put on your shelf. In that box, you're also getting a reproduction of an old school NES cart. However, it is not an actual functional cartridge, rather it houses the soundtrack to the game. Now, although the soundtrack to this game is decent because it is some really awesome old school chiptune music, it's not as good as the one on Double Dragon Neon. But at the same time, if you're into that collector's item for the old school NES cart, it is an awesome inclusion. After that, you have a double-sided poster as usual. You also have a reproduction dust sleeve that you can put your gaming cartridge in. And obviously, you're getting the exact same cartridge box, the basic Nintendo Switch cartridge box, with the same instruction manual as if you're getting the basic version. And lastly, they're including a couple of Billy and Jimmy keychains. Now, if you're really into Double Dragon 4, this is a really decent offering for $69.99. It's pretty much in line with what you normally get from Limited Run Games. Now, before we move on to Double Dragon Neon, I'm going to give a few comments about this game for anyone who would be listening and doesn't know much about it. Now, Double Dragon 4 is a spiritual successor to Double Dragon 2. Basically, the game acts as if Double Dragon 3, which was the least liked of the NES releases, doesn't even exist. And at the same time, it is done in exactly the same retro style as an NES release. However, nowadays, the reason a lot of people didn't like this game is that it also reproduced the bad parts of an NES release. So someone who's looking for a retro-styled modern release, Double Dragon 4 will probably disappoint you because it's reproducing so closely Double Dragon 2 that it's actually reproducing the downsides of that game as well. The controls do feel a tiny bit clunky. The old school designs are awesome, but they are the exact copy of Double Dragon 2 for a lot of parts of them. And the stage levels, well, some of them feel a little clunky, especially when you're into the platforming sections. That's why Double Dragon 4 generally has you either liking it or hating it. For those who played old school Double Dragon 2 and don't mind all those downsides, it's a really awesome follow-up, and for a sales price on the eShop for only $7, it was a ton of fun to play, almost like a long-lost NES game. However, for those that were looking for a retro style but more modern release for Double Dragon, well, they were very disappointed because the game just felt clunky and like an old NES game. However, at the same time, like I said, I am in the camp that I don't mind. I still play Double Dragon 2 on a regular basis, so I actually quite enjoyed Double Dragon 4. But if you're wondering why I never included on my sales lists, that is pretty much the reason why. I don't want to be suggesting games that a lot of people might be disappointed in. So although I find it is a decent release for the right public, it is not an all-around great game that pretty much everyone will like. So now let's move on to the second release, which is the classic edition of Double Dragon Neon. Now this one is actually selling for more. It's selling for $84.99 plus, once again, shipping to wherever you live, but you are also getting a lot more included in this game. And secondly, I think that ultimately it is universally a more liked game than Double Dragon 4 was. But before we get into a quick description of what the game actually is, let's take a look at what's included in this one. Now, first of all, you're getting this awesome Double Dragon Neon box here on the left that I find just looks amazing with the Double Dragon Neon logo really dead center. I think this box honestly looks amazing, and collector-wise, this would be something that I'd be super happy to put on my display. Number 2, just as with Double Dragon 4, we are getting the soundtrack on an NES reproduction cart, and actually separately we're getting a reproduction NES box, cardboard box, just like the old school NES games. And contrary to Double Dragon 4, the soundtrack to Double Dragon Neon is probably one of the best parts of the overall game. So this part is a part that I am super excited about for Double Dragon Neon. After that, we're getting the rest of the standard fare, which is a double-sided poster once again. You're getting the normal Switch case, obviously, with the instruction manual. You're getting the reproduction dust sleeve right here, but these last items are really the original ones. And if you've played through the game, you'll recognize a lot of these items. Number 1, you are getting a cassette soundtrack with a cassette rewinder. And that is amazing because collecting cassettes in the game is actually a big part of the gameplay, and this is directly tied into the game. And I actually still have a cassette player, so I would even be able to listen to that old school soundtrack on my awesome cassette player. After that, you've got a commemorative coin. Less excited about that one, but it is still a nice inclusion. And you get a reproduction Dragon Kick soda can with both figures of Billy and Jimmy once again. Now, to me, this is worth the extra money. I don't mind investing in this classic edition. And secondly, this being probably the better of the two games, this is the one that I will really want to put on display. Now, just before we end the video, I'm going to give a quick breakdown of what Double Dragon Neon is, just as I did for Double Dragon 4, and maybe give my personal perspective really quickly on it. Basically, this is modeled after the old school beat-em-up series Double Dragon, but this is the modern reiteration, with modern graphics, a modern soundtrack, and more modernized gameplay. At the same time, however, they try to keep some tropes from the old school Double Dragon feel. So you walk slower in this game, your moves do feel a little blockier than, let's say, we compare to something like the Streets of Rage remake. But at the same time, number 1, the asking price was way different on this game. They released this game as a $15 pretty budget release for a new school brawler. And you know what? At $15, and the way this game doesn't take itself too seriously, normally breaking that fourth wall and making fun of what came before it, I think that it was a pretty decent offering at $15. And it's very rare that I know a fan of old school brawlers that has actually stuck with this game and played through it that doesn't look back on his time and say that for a $15 investment, it was pretty worth it. So there we are. These were the awesome releases that I wanted to look for next Friday, what Limited Run Games is calling Double Dragon Friday. And you know what? I want to hear from all of you. Let me know if you like these games or not. If you did like them, are you going to be picking up any of the physical editions from Limited Run Games? I personally am leaning towards getting the classic edition for Double Dragon Neon, but picking up only the base version of Double Dragon 4. I still liked Double Dragon 4 enough to want a physical version, and I don't mind paying the extra value to get that physical version, but at the same time, I don't feel as compelled to pick up the classic edition of that one. But I know that a lot of old school and really retro gamers loved Double Dragon 4, so just let me know in the comments if you think you're going to picking up any of them. But anyway, on the way out, don't forget that if you did like this content, as I said at the beginning of the video, to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you know when all my future content comes out. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video.